Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It, As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto, Willies. Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto, Willies, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. And of course, good morning to the United States. Good morning to the entire world who receives our signals through the magic of the internet. How are my people doing this morning? I trust everybody is okay. I trust everybody also got to see the great farewell to one of the most moral presidents, one of the most effective presidents, even though history doesn't, not history, even though some folks on the right would think otherwise. Well, we'll dispel that myth today. Anyway, folks, before we get any further, let's go to the geniuses, Los Genios, in the studio. How are my brothers doing?
Well, Laurel and Hardy are here this morning. Oh, good morning, Stanley.
Good morning, Ollie.
All right. Well, it's an interesting day today. Donald Trump will finally pay for some of his crimes. They won't there's no punishment involved except for having that on his record. But the interesting part about it is, since there is a conviction and since there is a sentence handed down, what does this mean for all of his hotels and casinos for licenses? Are they allowed to have a felony on their record and still have a license?
Oh,
this should be interesting to find out.
Yeah. Well, there's one caveat, and because I think what he has are a bunch of LL corporations, so they may give the corporations a license and then a license in his name. I don't know, but that's quite...
it'll be interesting to see what happens.
I know.
The Supreme Court grew a backbone and said, "No, we're not stepping in." That is a glorious thing,
and a scary thing.
The Supreme Court judges, he's going to keep them busy on cases. I mean, it's going to be Trump's court. We should just rename it now.
Only Trump's.
Only Trump's court, because the litigation going on that's going to happen under him will be phenomenal.
Yeah.
So beware, justices. Your job is cut out for you. Jack, what you got, man? You got a half a page of wisdom there.
Yeah. Good morning, Egberto. How are you?
Buenos dias, Jack. I'm doing fine, my brother. Talk to me.
All right. I'm going to talk on your other subject, the healthcare. UnitedHealth Calls in the middle of a cancer surgery to question the necessity for the surgery. United Healthcare bureaucrats have no moral or ethical conscience. The executives need to be taken to the woodshed to answer to Granny Clampett for a whipping. Hell, the Grinch, the Wicked Witch of the West, and Satan all agree Medicare Advantage is a poison pill. We all need to work to end these corporate abuses of the healthcare system and start prosecuting CEOs and fining shareholders. We cannot have the corporations using death by withholding care as a method for creating profit, period.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree 100%. That's going to be our second subject today, but that's a good one, Jack. Actually, I like the one with Granny, with Granny too. And that
Granny Clampett.
What's in her nerve tonic? What is her nerve tonic?
Oh, man. I haven't seen an episode of the Beverly Hills Hillbillies in a long time. I mean,
well, just tune into CNN and the Washington Report look a lot like it.
Okay, that's what I need to do. But anyway, folks, look, I don't know, but I don't like to watch these presidential funerals and that sort of stuff. But something told me to watch the Carter one yesterday, and I tell you, I thought it was one of the best ones that I've, the truth is, I still watch them, but I thought it was one of the best ones. And specifically when what's his name? His let me get the name of his guy there. Because remember, a lot of that was before most of our times. Yeah, we remember Carter, but we were so young, we weren't as politically astute then. But it was great seeing that Stuart Eisenstadt, who was the former White House domestic affairs advisor, he's still alive, and he came out and he spoke a whole lot about what Carter really represented, what he did, unlike what most on the right, and even too many Democrats, because many Democrats sort of stayed away from Carter like he was the plague. And Carter, however, was not only a moral guy, but he was an impactful guy. I've always loved the guy, to tell you the truth. Even in my young days being in Panama, you have to remember that he's the one who signed the Panama Canal Treaty. I remember all the riots that were occurring in Panama. I remember all the stuff that occurred in Panama while we had that dispute over the Panama Canal. But since Tag is an earlier caller, I'm going to hold back on the Carter piece for about 2 minutes or so I can talk to Tag, and then we'll go ahead and play that. So Tag, come on in, my brother.
Good morning, Egberto. How you doing?
Good morning, brother. Talk to me.
I wanted to talk about the Carter thing for a minute.
Sure, go ahead.
Brought it up. Did you read about the article about what Obama and Trump were talking about?
I don't know what they were talking about. Does anybody know what they were talking about?
Oh yeah, this lip reader wrote a little article about that, and I posted on my Facebook page, and it's pretty fascinating.
Give me a little synopsis about it, and then don't forget to send me the link. You send me links every so often. Send me the link that you wrote up.
Well, we're Facebook friends. You just look on my page; it's right there.
But I won't forget. If I don't get a notification, brother, I'm gonna miss it. But go ahead, send it.
What I'll do is I'll send it to Jack, and then Jack can.
All right.
No, it kind of looked to me. I mean, from the way that what they could derive from the lip reading is that it kind of looked like Trump was asking Obama for some help about something. Like, and Obama said, well, we can't really talk about that right now. Let's talk in the foyer after the service.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they kind of speculated like maybe it had something to do with, they said either the Paris Climate Agreement, or possibly maybe like one of the nuclear treaty things that because Obama didn't really say, yeah, talk about it, but we'll talk about it after. So, but what I got out of it is that, geez, wouldn't it be nice if Obama was really kind of helping to guide Trump along a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, at least we know that at least one thing wouldn't be evil, because
and Trump needs some leadership. He needs somebody to guide him, and Obama would be great. Now, here's what I thought. I mean, my mind's just racing after I read this article. And wouldn't it be great if somebody told Trump, like Obama told him, well, you won't be able to get Greenland. You're probably not going to be able to get the Panama Canal, but there's room for you in Russia. So go ahead, and Putin's going to be gone soon, and you could just go to Russia and take over. Now, that'd be fantastic.
Wow. Do you really want what? How many time zones does Russia have? Like 11 or so time zones? Do you really want that?
Well, the thing is that, he wanted to build a Trump Tower in Moscow, and Putin didn't seem to want him to do that. But, Putin, to me, seems kind of like an empty vessel right now. And I wouldn't be a bit surprised if Putin will be gone soon. And I think it just leaves a huge opening for somebody to get something going over there that, I don't think Trump could do any worse than Putin did. So
I don't think he can. The problem I have is I don't know what comes after Putin. I don't know enough about what's going on in Russia right now to see who that would be. Maybe Medvedev. Medvedev is one possibility, but we don't know.
Yep. I would strongly suggest that anybody who's interested at all in what's to come, that they look at this article about the lip reader and Obama and Trump. I mean, it's just, to me, it's fascinating. So,
well, look, I tell you what, I'll wait to get that thing from Jack, that link, because I really want to see that. I think that's sort of funny. But anyway, anything else, Jack, before I jump to the Carter thing?
Nope, that's it. I think that's the all I can say is that even after President Carter's passing, he's still blessing us with things, and to have Obama and Trump, talking, I think is just truly a blessing for all Americans. So
yes, I agree. Because I think let me just say this before you leave. Let me just say this. I think the good thing is that if Trump thinks he can talk to Obama, as crooked as he is, maybe Obama can call up sometime and say, "Hey, listen, dude. Let me just give a little bit of advice here." And even if he doesn't take all of it, it may put it into the corners of the pea brain that he has. Who knows? We'll see.
With all the people who Trump has taken into his confidence, coming into this next presidency, I don't see where he's really got anybody that could help him, but I think Obama could really help Trump a lot, Yeah. So that's my hopes going forward.
Thank you very much, Tag. I feel for the country, but you have a wonderful rest of your day, my brother.
Thanks for everything you do. See you soon.
All right, man. Okay, folks, here is the piece that I did last night for Carter. So let me go ahead and cue that up now, and then we'll take it on the other side. A lot of people watched the funeral for former President Carter today, and I thought it was one of the most substantive farewells for a president that I've seen. More importantly, I think that's the reason, because Carter has always been underappreciated. And because he has been underappreciated, only the great things that he did outside of the presidency are the things that people looked at. Now, personally, I was too young during the Carter presidency to really understand what he did in depth. But I remember, I started really getting deeply into politics, starting with Reagan. Even then, as a neophyte, but learning a whole lot about the presidencies up and until Obama and beyond, it really taught a lot. In fact, as I did a lot of my studying with Obama and Bush 1, Bush 2, etc., because do remember, Bush 1 is the one who invaded Panama, the country of my birth. I learned a lot about Carter during those times, right? Because after all, Carter is the one who signed the Panama Canal Treaty that gave the canal back to Panama. I lived less than a mile from the canal, right? I am a product of the canal, right? My ancestors, the Panamanians of Caribbean descent, built the canal. So I understand it and understand the greatness of him coming to Panama and getting that and doing the right thing. But a lot of folks don't understand that there was so much more that he did. And at last, at his memorial, we had somebody that said it is time to dispel the myth that he was more accomplished outside of the presidency than he was within the presidency. When he was within the presidency, the magnitude of the things that this guy did was that of an impactful president. I want you to listen to what his deputy, his former White House domestic affairs advisor had to say, Stuart Eizenstat, because I hadn't seen anybody just sit back and enumerate in a short span of time all that President Carter had actually accomplished. Listen here, and then we'll take it on the other side.
As we lay our 39th president to rest, it's time to redeem his presidency and also lay to rest the myth that his greatest achievements came only as a former president. The test of American presidents is not the number of years they serve, but the duration of their accomplishments. By this measure, Jimmy Carter was among the most consequential one-term presidents in American history. His intellect, prodigious work habits, discipline, and mastery of details were crucial to his success at home and abroad. President Carter parked politics at the Oval Office door to do what he believed was the right thing, taking controversial challenges on, regardless of the political consequences, and frankly, there were many. Much of his agenda passed with bipartisan support, a quaint notion in today's hyper-polarized politics. Independent surveys indicated he had one of the highest success rates in passing his major legislation of any American president. And he was remarkably accessible to the press and to the American people. This president from the deepest part of the Deep South championed civil rights, appointing more people of color and women to senior executive positions and judgeships than all previous 38 presidents before him. He created the Department of Education and dramatically increased funding for low and moderate income students. And we can thank him for all the ethics in government laws, comprehensive civil service reform, the creation of FEMA to coordinate natural disaster relief and rebuilding that remain crucially important today, and we see it in Los Angeles. Jimmy Carter was also the greatest environmental president since Theodore Roosevelt, adding 80 million acres in Alaska to the national park system, and his global 2000 report forecast climate change. His energy bills were critical to move our country from dependence on foreign oil to energy security. We are now, as a result, the largest oil and gas producer in the world. He provided the first incentives for conservation and inaugurated the era of clean energy and symbolized it with solar panels he installed on the White House roof. Underappreciated at the time, but now widely recognized by Republicans and Democrats alike, President Carter was the great deregulator, winning legislative battles to loosen the regulatory bonds and shackles on airlines, thereby democratizing air travel, on trucking and rails, therefore helping our supply chains be more efficient, telecommunications leading to the cable TV era, and even the beer industry, which encouraged local craft beers. And he did so without compromising health and safety. These laid the foundations for today's innovative economy. Nothing better embodies President Carter than how he dealt with the inflation that beleaguered the nation under three presidents, two Republican, Nixon and Ford, and himself during the 1970s. Over the objection of all of his advisors, he chose Paul Volcker to lead the Federal Reserve, knowing in advance that Volcker's tough monetary policy would raise interest rates and unemployment because Paul told him that, and would do so in a presidential election year. You take care of the economy, Paul. I'll take care of the politics. Inflation indeed dropped like a rock after he left office and remained low for decades. Abroad, Jimmy Carter laid the building blocks for a better world. He was the first president to make human rights a priority for U.S. foreign policy. And this led directly to the release of thousands of political prisoners in Latin America and stimulated them to a lasting democratic transition. He ushered in a new era of hemispheric relations with the Panama Canal treaties, the toughest legislative battle of his presidency. He uniquely combined the soft power of human rights, championing freedom for the communist East Bloc countries and tripling the emigration of Soviet Jews. He combined that with hard power, rebuilding America's military strength after its post-Watergate decline. He negotiated a major nuclear arms treaty with the Soviets, while at the same time initiated every single weapon system that came online in the 1980s. Those new weapons helped end the Cold War. He normalized relations with China China, and even his critics applauded his tough measures after the Soviets invaded Afghanistan. Jimmy Carter's most lasting achievement, and the one I think he was most proud of, was to bring the first peace to the Middle East through the greatest act of personal diplomacy in American history, the Camp David Accords. For 13 days and nights, he negotiated with Israel's Menachem Begin and Egypt's Anwar Sadat, personally drafting more than 20 peace proposals and shuttling them between the Israeli and Egyptian delegations. And he saved the agreement at the 11th hour, and it was the 11th hour, by appealing to Begin's love of his grandchildren. For the past 45 years, the Egypt-Israel has never been violated and laid the foundation for the Abraham Accord. On the other side of the ledger was Iran. Jimmy Carter did not lose Iran, the Shah did. But the hostage crisis was a major factor in denying him a second term, despite his support for the Shah, because he placed the safe return of the hostages above his own political fortunes. He took full responsibility for the failure of the hostage rescue mission and worked tirelessly even after his bitter re-election defeat to Ronald Reagan, securing their release on the last day of his presidency. In the end, Jimmy Carter taught all of us how to live a life fulfilled with faith and service. He said, "I have one life to live. I feel like God wants me to do the best I can do with it, to let me live my life so that it will be meaningful." Well, Mr. President, you've more than achieved that goal. He may not be a candidate for Mount Rushmore, but he belongs in the foothills of making the U.S. stronger and the world safer. Jimmy Carter has earned his place in heaven, but just as he was free with sometimes unsolicited advice for his presidential successors, the Lord of all creation should be ready for Jimmy's recommendations on how to make God's realm a more peaceful place.
So yeah, now let me just tell you this, folks. I kind of stopped it a bit early, but I want you to realize this. There were 5 presidents, with 4 former presidents. Let's see, there is Trump, Bush, Clinton. Who am I missing? There's also Biden that was in there. I'm missing one. And Trump, of course. Okay, but here's the funny thing. In that one little speech telling about what Carter did, the man says, and by the way, Clinton, don't take too much credit for Yasser Arafat and what you did with Israel, because remember, I actually got the Egypt and Israel deal, which started this whole thing. And by the way, Mr. Trump, when you talk about the Abraham Accords, remember, my work was the genesis of that. Think about that. My work was the genesis of the Abraham Accords. And you know something, Mr. Biden? Remember, I told you you're going to have to make some sort of, if you really want peace between Israel and Palestine, you really have to start making first of all, telling people the truth about this entire issue. There is peace to be had there if you're willing not to take the money, but if you're willing to do the work. And to Mr. Obama, remember that, again, I started a lot of what you guys continued. You know, I mean, when you take a look at how effective this president was, but wasn't the one that pat his back or beat on his chest. He just did things. And one of the problems in America is if you just do things and you don't advertise it, if you just do things and you don't publicize it, it's as if you didn't and somebody else takes credit for it. And you know who learned that lesson? Biden did. Biden was likely the most effective president on social issues since FDR, with the CHIPS program, with the Inflation Reduction Act, with the Rescue Act, all these things that Biden did with taking medical debt off of your credit report, with making sure that the fees, the ever increasing fees on credit cards that these bank parasites use are not able to be done. He did all these things, great things, unlike Obama did Obamacare, but of course, Obamacare as well was a sellout to the insurance companies. He had to, don't get me wrong. I appreciate that Obama worked within a neoliberal framework, within a capitalist framework. I get it. But Biden found a way around much, even though after 2 years, the Republicans took the House and prevented a whole lot of it from being effectuated. But again, Carter, very, very effective in silence. But all the things that he did lived on. When today I heard one of the hosts on Morning Joe said something that I'm like, oh wow, that's true. There has been peace between Egypt and Israel longer than there was war than they were at odds between the two of them. And one of the most sustained treaties is the one created by Carter in Camp David between those two. We couldn't keep our treaties with Iran. We couldn't keep our treaties with the Paris Accords. We couldn't keep none of that. Those things lasted a few years, and America did what America does. It's just whenever something doesn't benefit the treaty-wise, they just say, okay, bye-bye. Somebody else does it. It's immoral. So that one speech, I sat down and listened to the whole thing, and it was beautiful listening to his grandkids talk about him building the cradle in his shed. It was great. The little story about when he first learned about smartphones, all of that was wonderful. But when it comes to what made Carter impactful as a president, and yes, he did great things as an ex-president, but he had power as a president, and he used it. And when he left the presidency, you didn't see him simply bragging about all the things that he accomplished. And because he didn't brag, many people took advantage of or took credit for the things or the pathway that he led. From the Soviet Union, the breakup of the Soviet Union, Reagan takes credit for it. But you know who the Soviet Union then, or who Russia blamed really for the collapse of the Soviet Union? It wasn't Reagan. It was Carter. When you allow yourself to get history from a neoliberal leading plutocratic media, so much is lost. So much is lost. And I just want to give my homage again to Brother Carter, because I tell you, imagine if there was a second term of Carter. When it comes to green energy, we lost 48 years. The oil company knew it then that the constant burning of fossil fuels would affect what's occurring in California. They knew it. They knew what the intensity of hurricanes would do in the aggregate. They knew it because the oil company scientists wrote about it. They wrote papers about it. Had Carter remained, we wouldn't have had a Reagan to pull the solar power cells off of the White House like a damn outdated troglodytic cowboy. But we would have had a leadership that realized we had to move the country in the direction of sustainable energy. Because, like I said, we knew it. But in a capitalist system where folks want to recover or the amortized value of their investments, these oil companies, instead of saying, let's take some losses and join the green energy programs. Remember, there was something called syn fuels. I remember that well, turning trees and everything into different types of cellulitic type ethanol. You know, right now, Brazil still gets a lot of their energy from plants. You know, imagine if we had 48 years of true progress on green energy. We would have a completely different economy. We would be the leaders in producing these solar panels. We would be the leaders in producing wind energy. We would be the leaders in producing wave energy. We would be the leaders in so many things. But we allowed the capitalist troglodytes to go ahead and do so much damage to our system. And then we reward them with billions. We reward them by allowing them to take advantage of employees, the parasites that they are. Again, the mistake that we make with the American presidency has done so much damage. When we elected Reagan, we put green energy 5 decades behind. When we elected Bush with a minority vote, we put warmongering on steroids, and instead of building up America's infrastructure, we built up the pockets of the defense industry, the defense industrial complex. When we made the mistake of not sufficiently electing somebody that wasn't Donald Trump, when we elected Donald Trump with the Electoral College, we yet again put carbonization back on top, leaving the Paris Accords. We put the entire world at risk, getting out of the Iran nuclear treaty. And that doesn't even have to do with Iran getting the nuclear bomb. That had more to do with people saying, hey, if we get the nuclear bomb, eventually they just have to leave us alone. Example, North Korea. Again, folks, we have to start seeing things the way they really are. And we have to stop allowing ourselves to be controlled by a media that is simply a little pretty facade for the plutocracy, for those who pretty much have done a lot of harm to our country. But anyway, yeah, so that one funeral, that one thing about Carter, think about the permutations that one funeral allows our brains to move into as far as what could have. All right. Before I go to the subject on the doctor and insurance company that Brother Jack started with, let's go ahead and talk to Harry. Harry, good morning, my dear brother.
Good morning, Egberto. And I want to give a shout out to your two Anyas in the studio. I know they mentioned their birthdays this week. Happy birthday to you, Howard, and happy birthday to you, Jack. And may you two have many more and continue to keep Politics Done Right going, because you keep this show going. You do a great job, and you do a great job, Jack. When Howard's not there because he has to work and make money, as you mentioned yesterday, and you do a great job, Jack, when you work Michael's show on Conversation Staff. Yeah, I'm going to say Jimmy Carter, a great man, a great president. I was too young to vote for him in 1980, but I would have. I remember my parents talking about him, and because I have relatives in Georgia, and how much they spoke highly of him. And I consider his body of work as presidency his magnum opus, his great work.
I love that.
Comes from Charlotte's Web. And then Smokey and the Bandit. Remember the movie Smokey and the Bandit?
Yes, I do.
When, Texas, you could not transport Coors beer. As that man mentioned, how he did the thing with the beer industry so that you could have breweries.
Designer beer.
Yeah. Beer.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Thank you, brother.
And Jimmy Carter was
That's Jimmy Carter. You know, of course, he didn't legalize marijuana, though. That's, he didn't legalize marijuana. But anyhow.
Right.
Anyway, Thank you, Harry.
Right.
Harry, got to go to Brother Bard before I start the other segment. Have a great one.
Okay. Well,
Take
you
care,
guys
buddy.
have a happy Friday and enjoy the rest of your day.
You too, brother. Peace. All right, let's go to Brother Bard.
Okay, Egberto, good morning. I want to say that I'm listening to what you're saying, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move Carter down in the worst presidents list. He's going down from number 4 to number 5 now, and I'm going to move Clinton up to number 2. So you're going to have Biden as the worst, Clinton's number 2, George W. Bush is number 3, Obama's number 4, and then Carter will be number 5 on the worst presidents in the history of the United States.
All right. I love that you're at least consistent, You're consistent. But you know what?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The other thing was I noticed that, what's her name? Kamala, she was very upset that Obama was talking to Trump. So she looked like she had ate a sour pickle there and shot them at the death stare. And so I'm glad that she is going to be fading away, and we will never have to hear from her or see her again because she will be gone into the dustbin of history.
Let me just tell you something. First of all, I don't think she's going to go. I don't think she's going. I don't think she's going to go away. In fact, I think she has a lot more to offer. In fact, I want more women, and she said she has a lot to offer. I think more than ever we need women because you are when I listen to your wordiology, right? You're the way you think, with the supremacy nodal that you have, right? Based on who you like, based on the way you analyze reality, it just tells me that we just need to see powerful women take charge so that people like you, right, who simply have and I say this with respect, since you still have that white supremacist notion in the way you think, that when you see actual women, white women, black women, Latino women, Asian women come out and really excel, because one of the reasons they have to be so good is because folks like yourself have never allowed them to sprout because of your fear of their success, right? So what you do, I will say, my dear brother Brad, is you do something that has happened to me. I wrote a book called Tribulations of an Afro-Latino Caribbean Man. And the reason I wrote it is I work hard to be truthful. I work hard to know stuff. And the reason I work hard to know stuff is because I understand the judgment and that how much harder someone like myself, Kamala, women in the aggregate have to work because we have a system that has been controlled by people that think like you. But the good thing about it is, as opposed to having to be quiet about it now, we have reached to the point where we can actually say it and tell you in your face or in your ears how things really are. But thank you, Brad. You are, wait, hold on.
Bard.
Oh, I mean, Bard. You're right. Thank you, Bard. You have done, you have allowed me to say so much so often. You have a wonderful rest of your day. And real quick.
The Democrats are the ones that are done with Kamala. And if you want to know how great women are, just ask those people that live in LA that their houses have burned down.
Man, you keep putting your foot in. You keep putting your foot in your mouth. Oh man, you're good. Have a great day. Have a great day, Bard. Have a good day, Bard. Let's go to Johnny. Come on in, Johnny.
I got news for you, Breitbart. Kamala's not going anywhere. Kamala's not going anywhere. You are. And by the way, I looked at that same video. And she didn't look like she was swallowing a pickle. She just turned her head. She glanced for like a second or two, and then she turned her head forward again. There was nothing said by her. She didn't frown at anybody.
Johnny, I want to stop you right there. Johnny, I want to stop you right there. That is the pain that women have to go through. They are micromanaged, and then when Brad decides what her facial expression means, that becomes the reality in his mind and in the minds of people that think like Brother Brad. Anyway, continue, man.
And that is why we challenge in real time. We don't fact check them the day or the following week, because when we fail to challenge them immediately, guess what? It flowers like a weed. And they're a bunch of weeds. Breitbart is a weed. Brian is a weed. They're weeds. They're weeds.
Well, look, let me tell you.
I have something to say. I have something to say to these two guys. Listen, both of y'all, Brian and Breitbart, you two especially, both of y'all, either you help us or you get the hell out of the way. Okay?
Well, you know what is so good,
get out of the damn way.
Johnny, let me tell you, the good thing about it is, like I mentioned yesterday, the policies that Donald Trump is attempting to put into effect, it's going to hurt them more than it hurts those of us who voted for Biden. It is just a statement of fact. Red state folks are sicker, they are poorer, and they're less educated. That's a statement of fact. And the policies that he wants to put out, the places that he wants to cut, hurt all those people. Hey, Johnny, my phone's filled enough. I got to go. Have a good one, brother.
Bye-bye.
All right. Let's go to Brother Patrick. Come on in, Patrick.
Hey, good morning. I wouldn't expect Bart to appreciate Carter. Bart, to me, doesn't seem like he has really very strong analytical skills. So for him to see Carter as a negative would make sense to me. Another thing, too, is that he might not have divulged, but Carter spent the last 10 to 15 years warning the American public of the evangelical Christians, right, pushing their way into politics. He even wrote a book about it. He was very, very concerned. He's a devout Christian, but he saw the hate amongst a lot of the Christians that were moving away from traditional churches and trying to bring in white supremacy into Christianity. So I wouldn't expect him to like him at all. Switching gears, on your 3 o'clock program, and on this program, you encourage people to fact check you. So I did. I sent you a couple of emails yesterday. One on the efficacy of
Augmentin. I meant to respond to the one that you did on mask. I didn't see the other one. 85% efficiency. Thank you.
And then that was with 1 mask, and then closer to 95 with 2 masks. And then I was careful. I sent it from World Health Organization, the CDC, BBC, and then also gave you the history on it. And that goes all the way back to the 1920s, where they realized that they could suppress respiratory infections with masks, and they've been doing that ever since. And then you want to ask these guys, okay, so what's different about the coronavirus that would change this? And the answer is nothing. And then you need to ask them, well, why are all these surgeons wearing masks? And why can we go through a flu epidemic and go to the hospital or the doctor and the doctor wear a mask and not get sick? These people don't even have common sense.
You know, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I also sent you the fact check on the hydro whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And you're 1% wrong because that did have a 0.8% efficacy. It did not take people off ventilators any sooner. It did not change mortality rates. So you're right there. But it did have a 0.8% relief for people. But then on the score of hazards, because of its heart conditions,
mm-hmm.
kidney, liver, blood pressure, it scored a 98 out of 100 for dangers, and it's
mm-hmm.
never ever recommended to be.
In other words, if you have something that affects your body 98%, that it can hurt you 98%, a 0.8% positive direction, it's not in other, it supersedes the 8%. The point.
Yeah, yes. So that they're not going to recommend it, and they're going to tell you that it's not useful for the virus because of how dangerous it is. And they're right. I mean,
mm-hmm.
risk over reward. You wouldn't risk losing your life 98% for a 0.5% return. So
I appreciate that. I appreciate that fact check, and I will take my 0.8% wrongness.
I appreciate you standing up and taking your lick, sir. You have a great day.
You too, my brother. Have a good one. Thank you, sir. All right, let's jump to Patty. Come on in, Patty.
Good morning. I would like to concur with the true celebration of a life well lived that we witnessed yesterday. That was so impactful that his vice president, his former opponent, their children
mm-hmm.
came bear witness to the honesty, the character, the truth, the morals, the ethics that will carry on for generations. And contrast that with when a hateful bully departs and people will attend just to make sure he's gone.
You are so right, Patty, and thank you for that message, and thank you for reinforcing that message, because I think it's time for us to stop giving all the accolades to the bullies and those people with a big mouth, and start understanding that there are a lot of people out there that are doing so much without saying so little. And that doesn't only occur on the presidential level. I know you have friends that are doing a whole lot of things, and they're just doing it because they're good people. Anything else, Patty, before we move on?
That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. You have a wonderful rest of your day, my dear. Let's go to Brian. Come on in, Brian.
Good morning. Have a good weekend, Jack. I forgot to tell you that. Hey, here's some facts about your ability to cut people off. Wednesday, somebody called in.
All right. Again, hold on. We're not going to do that. We have a subject here. Go ahead and decide the subject or you're gone. Okay. I mean, this is not the type. We are not going to waste time on issues like this, sir.
How long did you let Patrick talk? Okay. Let's talk about ivermectin. You want to talk about that?
Go ahead.
Okay. Ivermectin is a dewormer for horses, but it's also effective in human resources. So is hydroxychloroquine. It's a natural plant-based substance. It's non-patented. Therefore, it couldn't make any money off of it. How much money did Pfizer make in 1 quarter during the height of the COVID vaccine? They made $34 billion in 1 quarter. Okay? But you don't think about that, do you?
Actually, if you would listen to our, if you listen to our, like I said, when you lie, I interrupt. I speak completely about taking health insurance and drugs out of the private sector because it's something that we fund already. So you're absolutely wrong. When you speak about $34 billion for the vaccine, I am in complete agreement with you. You're absolutely right. But in as much as you're right, because you guys want to selectively use rightness. You are right that we should not spend $34 billion for the vaccines at all. We should take the vaccines away from those who rip you off. Because again, most of the research into the precursor technologies for all vaccines and drugs come from us, we the people. But what do you guys do? You go elect a bunch of folks who completely give control to corporations. That's what you do. So you speak out of two sides of your mouth. I am with you. Join me. Let's get that 34 billion back from these companies that have ripped us off. But don't go ahead and kill the patient by giving them a drug that Patrick just gave you the numbers on the drugs. He just did the research. He gave you the numbers. It is dangerous for your kidneys. It is dangerous for your liver. So why would you take a 0.8% efficacy? 0.8! He corrected me. I said none. It's 0.8. Why would you take that away? Hey, I'm running out of time. Give me a quick closer.
Of course you are. Of course you're running out of time.
All right, let's go ahead and go to Augie. Come on in, Augie.
It's great, everything we've been hearing about Carter. And there was something that Carter said that Trump could never say. Carter said, I never lied. Trump can never say that.
Exactly.
And right before the funeral, they had the Kennedy Center honors the week before. And Kamala Harris was there with her spouse, and Biden was there with his spouse. And you saw something that Trump and Melania can never do. They smiled at their spouses and even kissed. I don't want to see that happening when Trump is with his wife. And in fact, when he was president, he tried to hold her hand. And
she slapped it off. I remember.
Yeah, she slapped it off.
Hey, but Augie, I got 3 more calls and running out of time. So give me your pointer real quick, if you don't mind, my brother.
Yeah, and then that peace deal between Anwar Sadat and Begin, they were enemies. They did not want to sign that peace accord, but they argued them for 2 weeks. And at the end, they saw the light, and they became friends, and they shook hands. But when they went back to the country, Begin was killed by a Zionist Jew.
And Sadat was killed as well. Yeah. I got to go. I love you, Augie, but I got to go to Moses and then Bruce. Thank you. Moses, come on in. 30-second, Moses. I'm running out of time.
Let me give my sincere respect for 2 monolithic presidents. President John Kennedy, who sent people all across the world in the Peace Corps Volunteer Program to amend the wrongs of America, and President Carter, who is a man of peace. Mm-hmm. As the other guy said, he went all over the world, and it was really making amends for the sins of America. And finally, as it says, mark the end of a perfect man. His end is peace. And mark the end of the wicked, and you tell the difference between Reagan and President Carter.
Thank you, sister. You nailed it. You nailed it. You have a wonderful weekend, and I'll talk to you on Monday.
Okay.
All right, let's go to Bruce. Come on in, Bruce.
Yeah, good morning. One reason we only remember the highs and the lows of presidents when we look back on history goes like this. If I walk down the sidewalk many autumn day, a leaf-covered sidewalk, I don't remember every one of those days, but the time I stepped on a nail, I remember for 50 years. I suggest people do like I did and pick up Jimmy Carter's biography and read it. Pick up, old-fashioned books and read them. Anyway, that's all I got. I know you're short on time. Bye.
Hey, Bruce, thank you so kindly for that. Yes, Carter is somebody we should research and look at. Welcome aboard, Eric Hayes, Glenn Ryan, Billy Alessandro Irwin, in the chat. Glenn Ryan in the chat. Joe from California. I hope you're still safe from the fire, Joe. You guys, thank you for being here. Okay, Harry, real short, 30 seconds.
Yeah, I was going to mention one thing that slipped my mind. Out of all the ex-presidents that were at that funeral yesterday, whose spouse wasn't there? Michelle Obama. Now, I read up on why she wasn't there. She had some commitments in Hawaii, but the real reason is because Obama was sitting next to that convict, that felon, Donald Trump. She can't stand him, and that's why she wasn't there.
All right. Thank you very much. Guys. Thank you, brother. Hey, look, folks, we're at the end of the show. I can't play the message from the doctor, but let me just tell you the story real quickly. Doctor is in an operating room, taking out a cancer out of a lady who's under anesthesia. And Health South or whatever the name of the company calls her, UnitedHealth calls her, and wants to ask questions to verify if one of the procedures are covered or not. This is where we are at, people. We need to, first of all, get rid of health insurance companies for regular care. If you want to have roses and petals guide you to your room or to your operating room, private insurance can do that. We need a national healthcare system that covers you from the day you are born till the day you die. And the fact that other countries have similar things and they do it at less than half the cost we do means that we can actually do it if we get the sharks, if we get the parasites out of the system. It is possible. It is mathematically possible. We have the numbers out there that shows why it is mathematically possible. Hey, look, when profit becomes an expense, that should tell you exactly what we're speaking about. But before I go, I need to throw it back to the studio right now.
I really hope I don't have to have an operation where the insurance company calls and says, you sure he needs that? Well, yeah, we're halfway through. Well, can you stop now?
It's amazing. It's sad.
Oh, it is amazing. We invite you to something fun this weekend coming up on Sunday. Under the Volcano will be the scene for the Blues Brunch Sunday with Clint Broussard, 10 a.m. to 11 to 1 p.m. Contact Robin at kpft.org for your information. And Jack, you got anything going on?
Yeah, bless you, Jimmy Carter.
Absolutely. Bless you, Jimmy Carter. Hey, folks, the Substack, egberto.substack.com or politicsandright.com/newsletter. We have all the stories there. You can click on it to see the actual video from the lady who is talking. The doctor who is in the middle of the operation had to unscrub her, or had to scrub out, answer the call, and scrub back in to go into the surgery. This is America, and they want to tell you that Canada has a problem because you have to wait for knees. That is not true. My daughter had to see somebody for one of her specialists. She had to wait 3 months. Folks, my name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right, and you know how I end this baby. I am what? Out. Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It. As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willies.